This is Scott the Fix-It Guy. Our goal with our videos is to empower you to be able to do the repairs on your own and save a whole lot of money and also get that great feeling of having fixed it by yourself. Today we have a Whirlpool hood blower that is making a lot of racket, and we're going to try to figure out why. So we just took the filters down. Now we're taking these wires out of the housing, get them out of the way. We're going to take this whole blower motor out so we can see what's going on. We're going to take out these wires. It'd be best if you can turn off the breaker at the breaker box that powers the hood, and then come back and see if the hood will turn on, making sure that you have the power off. So we're just getting these wires out, and then we're going to disconnect all of these modular connectors. There's, I think, 4 of them, and you just want to pinch in and pull them apart. And then we're going to use, I'm using a screwdriver here to get this one set of wires out. There we go. So both sets of wires are out. I'm using some wire clippers to break a zip tie. And now I'm sped up the camera a little bit, but I'm taking out a bunch of Phillips head screws that are holding in this cowling. I think there's probably 8 screws holding it in. Get those all out, and then I'll remove that cowling. And then there's just 2 screws that are holding the blower motor in, but to get to them we have to remove the protective cowling that's up top of the vent area that's encasing the vent tube itself. So I'm still just taking those Phillips head screws off. And now we're going to remove that little cowling piece. There we go. And then we just took off 2 Phillips head screws, and we took off the cover. Now we're removing 2 wing nuts that are holding the blower motor. But you have to remove that cowling to get to those wing nuts. I'm going to unplug it while I have access here. Doing the other wing nut on the other side. And then if I hold up the blower motor, I can push in to remove the screws that are holding it in. I do have to remove one ground screw or one ground wire that'll hold the blower motor. Also, it's located up where the other electronics are. Here, we'll see it in a second. So this little wire here, to take off a brass nut that's holding it on. Take the wire off, and I'll just put that brass nut back there so I don't forget where it came from. And now I should be able to get those screws out that are holding the blower motor. I should be able to pull the blower motor out. I'm going to bring it down, kind of wiggle it out. I might have to move the wires a little bit out of the way because they're taking up some of the space. And if I can get them out of the way, it's going to make it easier for the blower motor to come out. I've got a feeling that something is caught in a thing called the squirrel cage, the blades that spin really fast and rubbing against it. I've opened these up before and found like acorns and things that squirrels had dropped in through the vent tube on the roof. And now I notice there's a piece of plastic laying in here, and that's what was rubbing, making that terrible noise. This is part of a little door that opens up when the blower motor is active. It must have come loose and fallen down in. And when you look up in there, you can see there's another half of it that's still in place. So that was what was causing all the noise. You may find something else in there. If there's nothing in there causing the noise, it could be bad bearings, and then you would have to replace the blower motor. Yeah, that's what was rubbing. So we got that out. We're going to put it back up in now. We're going to feed this ground wire up. I'm going to hold the blower motor with my left hand and feed the ground wire up right alongside the other wires through a little hole to bring it up there near the electronics. And then I'll go ahead and put that ground wire back onto its metal post and put the little brass nut on to hold it in position. And I'll tighten it up with a pair of pliers. I'm just kind of feeling where it is because I can't see, so I'm just doing it by feel. Now I can see it. There's the ground wire. So I'm going to lift the blower, push the ground wire up there, and then grab it with my other hand. There we go. I'll put that back on the post that it came from, holding the blower motor with my other hand. Push it up in there. There we go. Get it back on the post, and I'll add that little nut back on there too. So this is on a Whirlpool vent hood for the stove, but many models have the same kind of configuration. They have a blower motor, and every now and then those motors will make noise. In my experience, it's usually not a bad bearing, but something has fallen in and is rubbing against the squirrel cage. So if you can get the motor out, you can usually get the foreign object out of there. So here's our motor. We're going to push it back up in there. We're going to get the wires out of the way. And we'll add those screws. There's 2 screws that are holding the blower motor up in there. And then once the screws are in position, we'll add those wing nuts back to tighten them up. So I'm getting that lined up, and then I'm going to go ahead and put one of those screws in to hold it. Some of these blower motors have easier access where you can lubricate the motor shaft. So sometimes adding oil will get rid of the bad sound. So I got it up in there. I'm going to put that little screw through now. It's going to go through this plate holding the blower motor and then out to the left side through the housing. And that's where I can add the little wing nut to it. And I'll do the same on the right side. There we go. There's another way you can do this is you can add the screw coming in from the outside. That works too. So you got the screw coming in from the outside and have the wing nut on the right side. I have it on the inside. And then on the left side here, I have the wing nut on the outside. I'm tightening that by hand. And my right hand is holding the screw on the inside while my left tightens it. And I'm just hooking up all of those modular connectors. And do want to make sure those are on nice and tight. Those are controlling things like the light and the motor speed. And also there's one that goes off and it's a high limit. So if it got really hot in there, it would turn off the power to the motor to protect it. Get those all back. Take a good look, make sure you got all the modular connectors connected again. There we go. Feeding that piece of metal in there, that support, that cowling, and get it around the wires first, and then push it up into position, and then I'll add, I think it's six or 8 screws that hold that in, Phillips head screws. There we go. I'm putting those wire bundles back through the supports, and then I'm putting these protectors in there so that they don't rub against any sharp edge. And the one here on the left, and then the group of wires on the right, same thing. Plugged it back in, and I want to turn the water nice and quiet. So we got rid of the thing that was rubbing. So I'm putting that protective cowling back up over the stack, the vent stack. Got it pushed all the way against the wall, and then it's going to sit down into the vent hood by about an inch. So once I push it all the way back, it'll drop down by about an inch to sit down into the hood. And then once I have that in position, I'll get up on a ladder and I'll lift up the other part of the cowling. There's an inner part, and that part, I'll lift it up and push it way up into, in this case, into the sheetrock, about 4 inches. Once it's into position, I can add a couple of Phillips head screws in from the side, and that's going to hold those two sections together. It's pretty cool. It looks really nice. It's kind of hard to see the hole that screw goes into, so you have to get your eyeball right up in that area. Do the same on the other side. And then we just have to add the filters back into position, kind of clean it up, and we're done. There's the filter, and then there's the other side. Lock it in, looks good, and everything looks good, works good, nice and quiet. So thanks so much for watching. Thanks so much for watching our video. We really appreciate your support. And when you get a chance, please press the subscribe button below so you can be subscribed, and also the notification bell so we can send you more videos about appliance repair.